Welcome to the Landscaping Podcast. My name is Joel Barnett and I'm your host. And in today's episode, I'm talking with Lloyd Sharpe of Landscapists. So Lloyd runs a landscaping business where they do design, construction and maintenance in Berry in New South Wales. And he's one of four directors. So I've been talking to a couple of people recently about partnerships where there's two partners and this company's got four. So it was great talking to them about the way they run things. And this episode this week is part one of a two-part series because I've got Tom Humphrey, who's also one of the directors of Landscapists next week. So Lloyd this week and Tom next week, both of the same company, but Lloyd does the construction side of things, whereas Tom's the design side of things. So yeah, it's fascinating talking to both of them, and they're also a lot of fun to talk to. It was good to hear them talk about how they started out. So all four of them were originally working by themselves, and then they all got together. There was certain projects that they wanted to work on. They realized they couldn't do it as a sole trader, so they pulled their resources. I also liked hearing about how Lloyd and the business tries new things, so they're not afraid to try a different type of product or technique to do something and then learn on the spot and teaching their guys as they go. And we also touch on some of the famous TikToks that Lloyd's been doing, which are well worth a view. So hopefully you enjoy this chat with Lloyd Sharpe. Lloyd, thank you very much for joining us on the Landscaping Podcast. So my first question for you is, how did you start in the industry?
How did I start? Now, I'm not going to go on a 30-minute rant like Dan Foreman. But how did I start? Well, I went to year 12 and I was kind of still not quite knowing what to do or anything. My dad was he was working in a winery at the time. At Crooked River at Gerringong. He's the viticulture manager there. And we own a farm next door. And basically, because Dad wasn't on the farm, he just kind of doing the odd jobs for Nan, and stumbled into, you only got to work for, a month or two for my old man, and you're kind of like, oh man, I'm out of here. There's no way. So down the road from our house in Berry is a turf farm, Turfco, and they're quite large now because they've branched off into lawn solutions, and they're everywhere now.
Yeah.
So I was on the turf cutter for summer, and then it just kind of coincided with they were starting up a landscape, like a commercial landscaping section of Turfco, which was land links, big jobs. So I was an apprentice there. And the growth I saw in that business was amazing. We went from just doing like humble little, seats at a public school to doing huge paving jobs in Wollongong for the Wollongong Uni, like acres of paving, like just literally, I think it was 3 weeks straight working Saturdays on a brick saw, just cutting 45s, just brutal for a first year. But because of that growth, I guess it was a bit sloppy with the management, and the business was so large that obviously when you go from 15 people to about 45 in a year, just due to work, it kind of fell off a little bit. And as a third year apprentice, they actually went bust, which was pretty, there was a few internal things and it wasn't that great. But the standard of work and the blokes, there's a lot of people that work for a commercial, and there's a lot of dynamics that go on there. So I decided to leave before they kind of told everyone that, they're going to just go back to turf. And I ended up working for Marcel Daru, a little wholesome landscaper in Camberwarra, who is still to this day the most anal landscaper. If you left one bit of the pencil on the paper from the brick saw, it was getting sent back. Like, he was so particular, he's so knowledgeable. He loved his art. He was an art student from New Zealand. And so I finished my apprenticeship with him, and then kind of just thought, after working with Marcel, I was just kind of thinking, I'll try and, I've always had in my head that if you're an in-demand subby or someone who's always willing to work, you can kind of build momentum with that. So I did. So I went out on my own. God, what was that? Oh, it was for a little while. But then the apprentice that was with me at Marcel Deroux he had just finished, and we're really good mates now. Like, he's one of my best mates, and it was more one of those things like, well, I've got a ute with a couple of wheelbarrows and shovels, and so does he. So whatever jobs you get, we'll both do. Whatever jobs I get, we both do, and we're just subby to each other. And learned a lot of lessons being a young bloke who just thinks working hard's enough, like not thinking about numbers or anything. Especially now, like with my guys that are around me now, like with landscapists, like we do costings and everything, mate. Nothing was costed back then. It was just like, you'd be like laying bricks like this, really, and just thinking, oh, God, I hope I'm making money here. I've got people to feed. But yeah, so we did that for a while. That was back in the days where my business name was Evergreen Landscaping Solutions, because I thought, oh, it's an elegant name. I may as well make it 3 sentences long. So, and then with life that comes along, and it's funny, like listening to all the guys on the podcast. Everyone kind of goes through the same kind of transition of wanting to go out on their own, and then kind of you have to come back and like resettle when once wife and kids come along, and you want that stability. So I went and worked for a landscaper in Berry, Broughton Landscapes. Matt Taylor, they're really good. I worked for him for a year and a half and just thought, I kind of want to climb a bit of a ladder here. And I went and worked there because, one, I needed a weekly paycheck, and two, just the work that he does, like on that rural property setting with the market that I just couldn't crack by myself or with anyone, because Barry's a little bit of a clique. So yeah, I worked for him for 1.5 years, met some really good people. I met his nephew, Gus, who's his foreman at the moment. Just really good ongoing relationships there. And then went back to the commercial kind of side of it because I could get more money, was in charge of more people. Didn't think I was going to be as stressed, but kind of worked out to be a little bit more stressful, where the standard of work was just so much lower, but the money was higher. At that stage, in my life, I was like, oh, listen, I'll just do it. But it doesn't take long to get sick of that and think, oh, I can kind of be a bit better than this. So I went out on my own about 4 years ago, 3.5 years ago, and stumbled across an old mate, Paul Bazant, who's now one of my business partners in Landscapists. And he was like, oh, listen, we've got some momentum. We've got a little bit of this conversation happening over here, and do you want to come and hear us out? And we went to a meeting with who are the directors now, Andrew, Tom, Paul, and myself. And now we're here.
So is there 4 directors at the Landscapists?
Yeah, so we basically tried to split it. So the story behind Landscape, like the start, was just casual conversations of blokes just being sole traders and not being able to crack the market. And especially in Berry, there is a market there. So a bloke in a wheelbarrow just can't do a $100,000 job. He needs that many resources because it is a country town. It's a cliquey town. You need to know the right people in the right spots that have the client as well. So Paul and Andrew, Andrew's very business orientated. He's a successful businessman. So Paul was kind of talking to him one day at the coffee shop and said, oh, listen, I'm struggling. I mean, because when you're a one-man band, you know what it's like. It's, you might be busy, but if you're just a little poster note that says pay Lloyd Sharpe Landscaping, and then, they only look at it every time they go to the fridge, it's just one of those things where you're like, oh God, I just need to crack that market where it's like the client liaising's there and yeah, they started a conversation. Then Tom was in Berry at the time, and he was just doing a bit of horticulture around, a bit of maintenance. But he loves drawing, he loves designs. And I think when you talk to him, he's so smart. He's one of the smartest guys that I know that is landscape orientated, just nonstop. And yeah, I was just kind of lucky enough that I was in business long enough that I required a bit of work from Paul with his excavator and stuff, and just kind of got in the mix, and we all kind of got together and made it work. And 3 years later, we've gained a lot of momentum at the moment. So yeah.
Yeah, that's like, I always find it fascinating when there's partnerships, let alone having 4 people in there. So.
Yeah, I think the thing is, it's got to be pretty unique to work. I mean, you can't just have that. You can't have any yes men. I mean, like we have weekly meetings on Monday afternoons at our office, which is located at our yard, and we all decide. But there's so much trust in it because we all know where we're from. We're all locals from Berry. I grew up at Berry. Paul still lives there. Tom's a blow-in. He's a New Zealander, but he lives in Berry. And Andrew lives in Berry as well. So when our clients, it's a big enough town to have the market of a landscape where the average job that we do now is up towards like 70K. But it's a small enough town that if you don't get, if you don't get a design to these people fast enough, I mean, you got to walk past them in the street. So it's one of those kind of things where, yeah. But like with the partnership side of it, like it always works because everyone is just delegated to a section, and that's you own it, and you have to own your mistakes. There's no buts. So. And we're all quite honest with how we want the business to work and how it needs to work for us to invest as much time as we do and as much money as we do in our workers, and creating that space of developing guys to a point where we can kind of back off, like you're only just saying that you're 40 so, and you're kind of thinking about backing off because of the body. Like in 10 years time, I want that as well, thinking, I want to develop my guys and build a business decent enough in this small town that we can kind of just step back and let them go for it, so.
Yeah, so when you were saying about Berry being cliquey, I was thinking that it'd be beneficial for people who live there. So the fact that there's like, I think there's 3 of you live there, then that's all right. Does that make a big difference to the locals?
Oh, yeah, huge difference. Like our clients I would have to say 80% of our clients are Sydney-based clients anyway, with big properties down here. And it's kind of building that, especially in the first years of our business development. Like if you kind of break it down, so like my responsibility was kind of creating the best detail, so they'd ask us to come back, like the best kind of workmanship that I could do on site. But then on top of that is Andrew liaising with that client and gaining trust. So then we get a call back, and then Tom's always on the phone about, oh, hey, I think you can save money here, but let's do this. Or a client might want our services for tax reasons. And then how does that then, but then down the track, like Tom does town planning and things like that, where we try and liaise with the client enough that we're just a bit of a one-stop. Because after I leave, we do have a horticulture team that do, the mowing, the weeding and everything after we're gone. So there's that consistent roll-on of service there. So, and that's something that we're really proud of, especially down here. So it can be cliquey and it can be problematic sometimes, but the way that we're trying to do it is just that one-stop get us to do it. We can help you invest. We can help you make your place look great, and we can help you maintain it. So
yeah, there's so many people who want that whole service, especially people who it's a holiday house or a second property for them.
Yeah, that's right.
They don't want to have to contact someone 2.5 hours away to meet them.
No, and then especially down here, there's people that actually look after properties for people. So like there's people who just basically go to a house and just call subbies in all the time. Oh, the roof's leaking, what do I do here, whatever. So anything outside is just basically what we want to be involved in. And I mean, you got clients. I never thought I'd have a client that just probably met them for 2 minutes and they're like, oh, I want to do my pool. We've got a budget for 90K. What can you do? So I can just back in the days of just having a shovel and a wheelbarrow, like, you know what I mean? But just trying to build that trust. And then once you do one, you tend to just kind of create this little environment of like, oh, that's kind of what we do and things. And you talk to people and it's just like becomes just more. So it's been pretty mind blowing. Like for a young business like ours, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, I found that confidence is a massive thing with getting more jobs. Because once you've got a heap of jobs, the type of jobs you want, you've got more confidence going to the next one. And it just, the client probably can sense if you're not confident in what you're talking about.
It's massive. And I think that's probably one of the biggest, it's probably one of the biggest things that was my sword back in the day, where like we would do good stone or good paving or crazy paving or fire pit areas when I was a sole trader, and it would be awesome. But the way that I handled the client was so wrong. It was just so, oh God, I don't know, like, it was just so very immature a little bit. So it was just, and one of those lessons is kind of that I've learned from back then that I don't really have to deal with now, because Andrew is the first basis client liaison. But we do, after the design's done, there is a handover period where, okay, Tom, you can't now just keep coming in and changing things or anything. There is an actual handover where the client will just now deal with me. But if the client gains the trust way before that period, and then, because some of these designs go on for like 3 months with changing and everything. But so by the time the construction comes around, first name basis, phone number, and there's just that, there's that connection there where it is, it's just, it's just so important now.
Yeah. And even
you don't really learn it until you do it, you know?
Yeah. It's not something you can fake either, that confidence. You can't, like, you might trick them once or twice, but it's just something you have to learn through experience and doing it.
Yeah, and like not everyone's going to like you either. So when someone's spinning around in your front yard doing TikToks and stuff, like it could be quite. So some people might just like shoo you off site, but no. I think it's a massive lesson for any young landscaper who is out by himself, is that sometimes when you're out from the umbrella of a builder and you're trying to source work directly to the client, I think it's massive. You don't have that builder buffer there of, listen, mate, I've got a problem. Can you talk to the client for me? Or there's kind of none of that. So I think it's a huge lesson to learn for young blokes, for sure.
I was going to bring it up later, but you've mentioned the your social media skills. It's fair that yeah, absolutely.
Wait, I'll turn that up. I'll open the door. I'll just let my wife hear that.
But I was really looking forward to talking to you, because it linked in really well to the chat I had with Dan Foreman.
He's a legend, isn't he?
When he said he was a bit of a clown on site, and I was telling him that's who people would want to work with. And then I see your Instagram, like your TikTok and your Instagram reels, where it looks like you're absolutely having fun on site and getting the whole crew involved as well. So it just looks like an awesome place to work. Just you'd have
I think after you work for a few blokes that are so I think especially with my side of the business, which is all structural stuff. So I look after a structural crew. So we might have a couple of jobs going on at the same time. So there's usually 2 crews going at once, separated over 2 jobs or maybe 3 jobs. So, and I mean, we're in the same position as everywhere. Like we've just worked 4 months in the rain, like 3 months at the end of last year was just like, I had never seen anything like that on the South Coast at all, like since never. So I do try and keep morale pretty high by, just either trying to be funny or trying to put people on the spot, or that also attracts like-minded kind of people as well. That we've had our apprentice is 16 years old, and he's an absolute gun, and he knocks up formwork and screeds up concrete. It's because he loves to work. He hasn't he's gone a full year without having a sick day.
That's
because he loves to work.
Yeah.
Yeah, and when's that ever going to happen? I've got a labourer, Brad, who hasn't had a sick day in 2 years. So, and we've had 3 months of rain. So if you don't create this funny, take the piss a bit, but also create a culture of accountability and detail, where the guys have basically, I like to feed them the tools to, and I'm very open with budgets as well, with the boys. Not to the extent of I'm going to make this much money on this, but basically to the extent of the timelines and the margins, because margin, I hadn't even said margin once before I started Landscapists, but now margin is just the biggest thing we talk about. And it's either if we don't hit this certain margin, it's then, okay, then we're going to review some costings, and then we'll find out where we kind of went wrong, or, with rain, or with not being organised enough, or something like that. So I do try and create a little bit of banter between the boys, and they love it. They probably won't tell anyone, but they do. They love it. But to have guys that turn up every single day for you, and with some of the weather that we've had and some of the challenges we've had, especially at the end of last year and the start of this year, and it's now looking like the next 6 weeks is probably going to be pretty average as well. So I've worked for too many guys that are just so just tunnel vision of money, and just whipping for the hard work and the detail to come up, but then just not appreciating too much. So I've kind of I'm trying to create a business where, guys want to work, and guys want to stay, because we all know that, you try and teach all these blokes stuff, and as soon as they know everything, they go. So I'm really goes back to trying to back off in 5-10 years time and leave it to these guys to really, get hands-on while I oversee. And that goes for all of our directors in their sections. So if I don't make it good now, I'm just going to get pretty grumpy later on. So. Yeah, and whatever.
And you probably make more money by doing it the way you're doing it as well, because you've got more.
More
staff.
And guys. Yeah, I mean, you ask another 15 or 16-year-old apprentice to stay back on average an hour and a half a day. They don't. But when you've got that, I guess it's something I picked up coaching rugby league. It's just when you've got that mentality of let's go, we've got some momentum here, and getting guys positive about the work, not the conditions, but about the work, and then patting them on the back and giving them incentives to do better work. Blokes thrive off it. Yeah. It's something that I think we're really good at Landscapists, is just chasing that morale.
Yeah. And for people listening who want to see some of your videos, it's on the @Lloyd Sharpe is the best place to see it. And the last one, I think it was about the 22nd of April. I think it was around about there, where you did Lips of an Angel by Hinder. You were singing one of the great songs.
My phone blew off over that.
can see why. It was amazing. I was showing people that I said, "It's so great that."
So many people were just like actually texting me or emailing me saying, "Mate, you have absolutely lost it here. What are you doing?"
And when I see things like that, I love to think about like people driving past or the client looking out their window, just looking at you.
Mate, we did for a Secret Santa present. Oh, I don't know. I haven't got it here, but we did a calendar, and mate, this calendar is just the worst thing you could ever think. Like the most average looking blokes you'd ever see getting around in their jocks and pretending that they're doing work. Every client of that house was home, and like we got the undies pulled up like a G-string, leaning over the brick store. Oh, just funny, funny. Actually, that was Tom's Secret Santa, so you'll have to ask him about that. He gets embarrassed about it.
Has there been anything you asked the guys to do that they wouldn't?
Nothing's off the board. Nothing's off the board. Like I said, everyone's a team player.
That's awesome. Going back to when you first started, it was something you said was very similar to what I did when I was the first year apprentice. We did it was a domestic landscape company, but we did a commercial. It was a supermarket, like all around the outside. So we did. I think there was 2,000 square meters of brick paving. So it was just me and my boss. So yeah. So when you were saying about the brick saw, like I'm pretty confident with my brick saw skills now, and that was because of my first year. I was on it for that long as well. So did you find you learned a lot doing that sort of stuff early?
Oh, absolutely. And it's just like just what I said, like Kurt, I didn't just throw Kurt a couple of bits of timber and just say, I'll work it out. Like it's more as a first year, you just want to please your boss. So you don't want to let him down. You don't want to do anything. And that kind of, when you gain knowledge and things, that kind of doesn't fade into the background, but it becomes not as much as a priority. But as a young bloke, it's more, just saying yes. And like some of the stuff. I remember going and having showers with dishwashing gloves on that had that bad bird's eyes, turning it on like screaming. But it's just what I don't know. It kind of ingrains in, especially being younger. And being a bit tighter with your boss as well, that's always beneficial. But learning like that, it makes you appreciate the good stuff. Before we're talking about the tabletop, like the concreting or the stairs, the concreting and stuff, like you kind of chomp at the bit for that kind of stuff because you've done hard work. And yes, it can be mind numbing and everything, but yeah, I think it's paramount that you do need that. I mean, you can't coast along and develop as someone that has worked hard. You know what I mean? You really need to. I guess blokes kind of go through it differently, but I feel like you do need to do that really hard work. That really, I mean, it's a story that we're talking about now. How long ago was that?
Yeah, it was 18. 18 years ago.
That's what I mean. You're still talking about it 18 years ago. Like, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. But it's something that you now then put onto your apprentice of like, oh, mate, I did this and this. And then your apprentice goes, oh, yeah, you might be fluffing around or having a joke or something. But then in his head, he's thinking, well, if he's done it, he's the big boss. He's done it. So I want to do that because I want to be you in 18 years' time. That's how I think about it.
Yeah, like there's like one of my guys. He's just about in August. He'll been with me 7 years, and he's on his first day. We had some ballast. We had like railway ballast. We had to shovel up, and I hadn't used it before, and I got it tipped on a vacant block next door, and got him to start shovel. I think I started shoveling it up into the barrow, and then realised because the base wasn't like concrete and smooth, it was really hard to get the shovel into the ballast. So I said, I'm gonna duck off for a minute. So you start shoveling this ballast into the wheelbarrows, and I'll be back later. So I set him up to doing that, and it was because it was a nightmare. So that was his first day, and we still talk about that now as well. It's good having those stories. And I'll go back past
Yeah.
that supermarket I did those pavers at and think, oh, I wouldn't have done that cut like that now. But,
Yeah.
but yeah, luckily I've got more skills than when I did 18 years ago.
Oh, yeah, geez.
And talking about the concrete, you were saying, so you've done a couple of like concrete steps and a curved bench seat as well. Did you learn that anywhere, or was it just self-taught?
It's all self-taught. Anyone that I hit up over Instagram, I'm quite social on my Instagram with guys, like reaching out with people. It's kind of one of the things. I'm really good friends with Ben Carmody from Horizon Landscapes. He's got quite a big following on Instagram, and he's a real humble bloke. And talking to him about 5 years ago, and became mates, and he ended up moving into the area. And so I kind of have that mentality with everyone that I talk to on Instagram. If it's, if I see something that really intrigues me, like the photo behind you, like just little things about the detail, about like how I said before, like with the hedge and things like that, I'm really curious. Not so much like, oh mate, how'd you do it? It's just more of a detail and the design aspect of everything. And so with the concreting that we do, like the finished stuff, Tom was just liaising or just kind of quoting up a job or designing a few jobs, and a courtyard in Berry came up with some I-beam pergola and some nice bricks and some Filetti paving, and everything was really nice. And we could not figure out what to do with this curved seat, and just through a meeting conversation, just a casual conversation, Tom was just rattling ideas off with costings, and yeah, we kind of came up with a little bit of let's just give it a crack. Like, what's the worst thing that can happen?
Just jackhammer.
Oh god. So we just gave it a crack and just kind of learning ever since, really. We dabble in it. It's not something that I want to specialize in, but it's something that I definitely, because I'm learning on site, I get the huddle around, and just think like, these are the screws that go on corners, your internal cuts are this because of this, not because I know, it's just because it's just the way that I kind of think it can work. So we do bits and pieces of it. Did a big water feature or form water feature. It's like anything, like whatever Tom designs. I think I went all last year without doing something twice, and doing a lot of stuff for the first time. So it's just, I'm developing a lot myself as a landscaper. The last 3 years, I've learned more about my strengths and definitely my weaknesses through having this team with me, where I just wouldn't. So it's just one of those things where, like, Tom will scour the earth for some material that he just likes the color of, and then we'll present it to the client, and then we're like, now we've got to get this thing from India, and blah, blah, blah. And then it gets here, and then I'm like, what am I doing with that? Like, but we figure it out, and it's a good outcome. And as long as the client's involved, like, Tom's vision always comes to fruition. So if I can kind of, especially with the concreting and stuff like that, if I can kind of have a hand in that, like, I'll always be keen.
How's that gone with profitability, doing all those new things all the time? Because that's something I found a struggle with, working for different designers for the first time, just knowing, yes, because eventually you can look at their plans and you can sort of see the detail a bit deeper than what you do when you first.
Yeah. So, I mean, once bitten, twice shy kind of thing. Definitely. I think everyone who's in business and is around our age kind of has the same train of thought, really. So I think getting thrown all of these situations, and like, these are jobs that I've dreamt of doing. So there's always a positive outlook for all of it. I don't ever look at one of our designs and go, I really don't want to do that because I know he's a problem or whatever. It's just more like the designer actually works with me, and we're a team, where I've never worked for another designer. So I've never worked for a designer who's just, like this, and gives a plan out and then doesn't want to liaise with the problems and things and that kind of thing. So I'm very happy to work things out with me and kind of give a little, take a little, But the profitability is like we've had some pretty crazy growth in the business over 3 years. So, and like I said before, it's not something that I ever thought of being a sole trader of like, oh, geez, I only made 12% on that job. It was more like, oh, I'll get it on the next one. Or, oh, geez, that burnt me. Geez, I hope they pay me soon. Or it's just that kind of mentality of like just getting through, like not bettering yourself. Yes, as a landscaper, because everything's in your hand now. Like, I know what you're doing and I know that you do good work because I'm looking at it and I'm getting ideas off that. But kind of transferring that into business and turning profit on, and especially getting margin, something that no one really teaches you. They don't teach you that in TAFE or anything like that. So you kind of start from the bottom, and doing things for the first time can be frustrating. But like I said, like that's probably one of the benefits of having that banter at work, having guys around me that want to solve problems with me. I don't just have a foreman that's sitting there waiting for me to pass him the plan with all the answers. He's like, oh, so what do you reckon about this? Just down to the fact that a lot of the stuff that we do is on rural properties, and just the logistics of items and materials is huge, and can cut into your margin at the end of the day just by being stupid or just by being lazy or just missing a detail on a plan, So I'm trying to work that mentality of, costings all the time. That's the benefit of having guys around me like Tom in the office, and Jess, who's in the office with Tom, who does our payroll, and she's awesome with costings. Like she's probably the vital cog in Landscapists ever since she's come on, because I can get up to date costings and budgets from a phone call and go, listen, I think we're going over budget on the bricks. Can you just do a few costings, go through deputy and work out how many hours the boys have done or all this kind of thing? And she'll be like, oh no, there's still budget left in this. There's a lot of budget left in that because you smashed it. And we break it down per job to per item of a job. So sounds really complicated, but just getting that reassurance that weekly you're doing good and weekly you sometimes you're not, and just learning from mistakes and knowing that margin is the point of, if you don't get this, then the job will go into review and let's work out why not.
So is that an app you said is that called Deputy, did you say?
Deputy is just an app that we use for like clocking on and clocking off. And it's probably one of I wasn't that keen on it at the start, because I was thinking like it's just a way of tracking. Like blokes just think, but as a business point of view, you clock on, you clock off after you clear the truck off or whatever. And then in the comments, well, first off, on a Sunday night, you get sent what job you're going to throughout the week. And then basically every day the blokes clock on, clock off, and write a description of, because some guys might go to 2 or 3 different jobs in a day, especially maintenance side. Maintenance could do, a hedge here, whip snipping and edging over here, and then mow property all in a day. So in the comment section, you just write down the hours you spend. So everything is allocated to costings and everything is allocated to then billing a client. So it's kind of, Jess is quite busy in the office, but it's so vital to our business knowing where our labour is all the time and where our costings are coming back to people like me or people like Paul, that, you just need to get to a certain stage of a job, because that's where, we can kind of bill, and then, you just know where your margin is all the time. So it's very handy.
So does it get detailed down so they clock on when they start paving, and then if they finish paving, then they start grading the same day?
I've trialed that. Guys they're not that keen on it, obviously. But usually I'll be able to tell usually on jobs where things are going, and then it just goes off percentages, where Jess will just asked me, is the paving at 90%? Yes. This, retaining walls, the blocks delivered, blah, blah, blah. So logistics wise, we use monday.com, but then everything with labor hours and everything, it's just all deputy. So handy.
Yeah. Yeah, it's one of those things. It's not one of those sexy parts of landscaping, but it's very valuable.
Yeah, I think it's like I said, like I wasn't the biggest fan myself. It wasn't. I kind of felt handing it on to my guys who I have quite a good personal relationship with. I was like, oh, now instead of working, like yes, you work for me and you're doing great, but now I'm putting like another thing in the mix that was quite foreign. It was like, oh wait, so now I've got to download an app. You know where I am when I clock on. You know where I'm not, but they're always going to be in the right spot. But it was more like a bit of a personal accountability. And if their deputy isn't right, it's more like, guys, you need to get better at this. Like, let's get better. And listen, the reason why we're doing this is so you have a job in 10 years' time. Because we want to get paid for the hours that you do. And we want to then, in turn, give you a job for those hours. So it's more of it's a back and forth kind of thing of like, and the guys have responded great to it. The horticulture guys are really good at it. My bullfeds are getting better. And they're just more, it's just that tradie mentality, mate. It's like, oh, why are we doing this?
Yeah.
But, everyone's jumped on board and it's working, and it's definitely worth thinking about if anyone's out there thinking about, if you're a business our size, you kind of need it. Otherwise, there's so much that just gets lost in the ether of travel time and things like that. So it can be too costly not to have it. Yeah,
and the way you're explaining it to them would help as well, because if you're making more money, then there's more money that they can potentially be paid as well if everything goes.
Oh, absolutely. And it's just one of those things like, and it's a part of it. It's like when we do we do employee reviews every year and just ask like so much like, down to as little as like, are you happy? What can we do or anything? But then there's always that accountability of, well, we've noticed that you're starting to drop off on your deputy. When you come back here, like you get paid to fill it out. So once you're back at the yard and unload the trucks and put all the tools back in the containers, like just hop in your car. You've got to clock off anyway. So let's just kind of work that system out where you write notes through the day at lunchtime, what you've done, you just copy paste, bang. Everyone goes home happy, paid, and it's sweet.
How'd you go the Folletti paving for the first time? Because I haven't done that before, but I don't think I'll get a job with it because I'm too scared of it, and my quote will be.
Nah, so it's one of the things where I really wanted to use it when I first saw it. I thought, oh, geez, this is good. But it's like one of those. I mean, there's so many. So like you must have seen it over the course of your career. It's just the explosion of stone availability. And so many avenues of like what kind of looks and what details and everything. As soon as I saw Folletti, I was like, oh man, I wouldn't mind using that. Some of these jobs that we do, I wouldn't want to use it any more than what the areas that I have. I wouldn't want to do like 400 square meters of it, but it's definitely worth the labor, definitely. Because I hadn't seen it in real life or anything. It's just one of those things where we're just like, let's just give it a crack, and if it works out, it works out. Let's just try and work out it's either we do it and it works out to budget, and it's all pat on the back, or we don't and we learn from it, and on the next one we'll just make it look schmick. So no, I like it. Anything like that, my boys love doing that. Crazy paving, my boys love crazy paving. Yeah, blokes are like hate it, can't stand it.
Yeah, we're starting to get over it.
Yeah. The first job I did with Landscapists was myself and my labourer, Brad, just kind of, when all of our teams were just like one person and a labourer, we did 350, 60 square metres of Endicott, crazy paving. Thinking like, what have I got myself into here? What is doing? Yeah, it's just kind of gets like that. But my guys just want more of it. They're asking for more of what other products are out there. What are we doing? And we recently did out at Jasper's Run at like the Gatherco, the pink Zahari, just like a pink limestone. Awesome product. So that's what my guys are starting to really like, that kind of aspect of knowing what jobs are coming up. Looking in my folder and seeing what jobs, what plans, what designs are in the pipeworks for the next 3 months. So I usually hop in the truck and they're in the folder trying to see what's coming up. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's definitely no complaints.
So how did you go with the rain that you had with like all the floods? Because the amount of millimeters that was getting reported is it's inconceivable.
Mate, I can't put words together of how, like, at the end of last year was just like, I mean, September in particular was just so bad that not only were we buying tents to work under, but we were going through tents like no tomorrow. Like, we're buying like a $350 tent every 2 weeks because the rain was that heavy, they'll just fold in. Like, it was just insane. And trying to do stonework, mixing mud. There was definitely times where we were tested with the morale, but like one of those things, one of those opportunities of having guys that just turn up, like working that absolute shit that we had to deal with. And I'm talking like halfway up the shin, open cut clay sites, trying to build a stone retaining wall that's 35 meters long with no drainage behind it yet because we couldn't get to it. Just phenomenal amount of rain. But then also trying to take them, finishing early on a Thursday or Friday and give them a pat on the back, buy a beer at the pub or down the club and have a laugh about it at least. So instead of like, oh shit, I don't want to come to work next week, it's like, well, everyone's here. I don't want to look like the guy that doesn't want to come to work. So it's that same mentality of, but mate, I was even coming home saying to my wife, like, I don't know how much longer I can do this. This is ridiculous.
So you just worked through the whole lot of it. You didn't have any days off.
No, we didn't stop. We did not stop. We couldn't stop. We couldn't. By the time it was a joke, it was just like, oh, let's roll on it. Who cares? Let's just go see what we can do. Obviously, the maintenance guys would have time off because you can't mow, whippersnip, and it was that torrential. But then we would go and do some weeding for them, or we would just go, oh, let's go and mulch that garden that's just been, needed to mulch for a while, or any job that we could get on, we just went and did. So it's crazy. It's crazy. I've never, it was only until this year we hadn't had a rain day.
If we see 10 mil forecast,
no rain day.
Yeah, we're 10 mil. I probably won't be working that day.
Yeah. As soon as they start stripping off the hat, call up, boys. Nah.
I hate it so much, Ray. Like, it just makes everything a mess and adds so much time.
Yeah, it's bad. But when I say we don't have a rain day, I'm lucky enough that we're within the first 2 years of Landscapists, we've developed a bit of a landscape yard with undercover areas where I find that a good opportunity to teach Kurt, our apprentice, how to use a stick welder. So we're in there just welding verticals, or just kind of prepping for that steel edging or the in situ welding that we have to do, or going out to the back of the yard and getting any kind of product that we have left over and making sample boards for clients, just anything, kind of stock take on everything, clean out the toolboxes, just that usual trade rain day kind of stuff. But having them all together and out of the rain, and then just go up the shop, go get some hot chips, and the boys are happy.
Now, you've got your, I don't know, do you call it your building license or is it a landscaping license?
Structural license, yeah.
So are you part of the Landscape Association as well?
Yes.
And do you go to before Yeah, you might not have been there either before COVID, but did you go to meetings or anything? Did you get involved much, or you just?
No, not yet. But to tell you the truth, but we kind of it's one thing that we talked about this year was we kind of need to make a bit more of an effort with that kind of stuff, especially now. Like we've just upgraded our license to a pool builder's license as well, so we're kind of one of those things where we're just kind of so focused on ourselves at the moment and really trying to keep that momentum. I mean, if it was all sunny, jobs were going great and everything, I'll be like, man, I'll be sipping martinis with the big wigs at the shows for sure. But at the moment, we're just so internal at the moment, so we're kind of still trying to build. We're still a young business, and I talk to a lot of people that are in that are involved with it. So yeah, I wouldn't mind going. I really wanted to go down to this flower show, but I just couldn't find time. I was really spewing about that because I had talked to a few people on socials about catching up and meeting and stuff like that. So I was kind of disappointed, but I think we'll just kind of get through this year with another rain system coming along. So I guess we'll be busy.
Yeah, that's. Yeah, well, you have to enjoy yourself like you do on your TikToks to be able to put up with that kind of weather.
Oh, so honestly, some of the stuff that I've seen my boys endure over the last 4-5 months is just like coming from a commercial landscaping background, like it looked like rain, and the blokes would be like, "Yeah, no way!" Like, and that's just. It's more, I kind of want to, there's no way being a business owner that, everything, you got to be accountable for everything, so trying to create a culture of like blokes just having a laugh about being wet, it's just more, it's not like never ever have I said, they get asked every day if they want to go home. So you can go home, but they all look around and they all go, well, I don't want to be the one bloke to put his hand up and stuff like that.
So what's with the pool building? When do you plan on starting them? Have you got any lined up that you got?
It's basically, well, we're talking to a few clients at the moment. It's definitely just one of those things in the growth of the business that I can't say that I ever wanted to just be a pool builder. So, but if there's an opportunity where Tom can, if a client is looking for a pool and wants us to design, I mean, I wouldn't mind building maybe like 5 a year, like just kind of just drop them in one of Tom's concepts where it's just another element to the business where it's for growth. And now, I mean, if you're doing concreting, paving, retaining walls, and what Tom does with design, if there's that missing link of, well, can you just rely on a pool builder? Like a lot of the pool builders are landscapers themselves. So it's one of those weird kind of things of like, oh, I'll get another landscaper in to do your expensive pool. So it's just one of those key elements in the design that people are actually starting to ask for now. So the boys came to me and said, oh, listen, what do you reckon? Do you reckon you want to try and upgrade the license and see how we go? And we don't have to build any pools if we don't want to, but it's always good to have. And so we just went and did it and see what happens. Nice.
Lloyd, can't thank you enough for coming on. Really enjoyed this and could chat for another hour, I reckon, but we'll have to leave something for Tom to say too.
Oh, mate, he'll rattle on like nothing else.
Thank you very much.
Before I do go, thank you very much. And it's good. I don't think anyone's said it, but it's actually good to hear from, some of the, like there is an avenue here on Instagram and YouTube that there's so much reassurance in this podcast that the big guys that you do look up to have the same issues as you. And it's just one of those things where like, I'll watch any podcast that you do because I'm so interested in, even if I don't know them or if I don't, it's just so interesting to see that, like the Ian Barkers, the guys that are just like, everyone's has the same problem. So everyone has elements of problems that people don't have other places. But it's good to know some landscapers on the South Coast have the same business, problems and have to solve them the exact same as the Sydney bigwigs. So it's really good.
Yeah, hopefully the one day we'll be talking about how similar everyone's success is. Everyone's going so well rather than all the problems.
Yeah. Might have to do a 20-year reunion and watch everyone all crusty old and grumpy or filthy rich. So.
Yeah, we'll see what we turn out like. Well, thank you very much, Lloyd.
Legend. Thank you.